Well, hello everybody. And hello, beautiful Kerri, and welcome to Monday. Happy Monday, everybody. I hope you've all had a fantastic weekend. And I know, Kerri, you are dying of heat there in Oz
Oh,
Schnoz.
it's so bad in
Um,
Australia at the moment. It's,
yeah, I've had some, it's actually just calming down now. There's been some awesome rain. So it's been hot, 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 but now we've had some rain. So yay. How are you, beautiful lady? Nice
yeah,
to
I'm
see
good.
you.
I'm good. Now I'm sitting in the aircon and the fan at the same time. We've had rain here, and since Christmas it has not stopped raining. Like pretty much been rain, and then what happens is the sun comes out, and then all the wet ground, everything just creates this massive humidity, and it's just awful. And we've got a massive big cyclone coming in again up around the Townsville north of Queensland, coming down again, and I could end up next week with floods and rain. And uh, anybody wants to go look at the radars for Australia, it's just really bad. So it's been bad here, and it's been up north and Victoria. Right where I am hasn't been so bad. It's pretty good, but it's just the constant rain and then constant heat, then constant rain and constant heat. So I think it might be the first year I'm actually looking forward to winter.
Well, I'm very happy you're looking forward to winter because I'm not. I'm not looking forward to give those northerners back the sun that they've kidnapped from us. Because but then again, these poor Americans really, they had the worst time of their lives this winter. I think they've been
Oh, I
blizzards
know.
and
Yeah,
cold
yeah.
spells. The weather witches are sure out in force, that's for sure.
I
Yeah.
think they've got snow in places they've never had snow. Am I right? So if anybody's living over there.
Yeah, it seems to be. And I know Bryce, who's from Atlanta, I mean, they hardly even know winter there. And I know she was telling me last week they actually had to close their yoga studio for a day. It was too
Oh,
cold.
oh, wow. Okay.
Oh,
Oh,
how crazy. But
yeah.
anyway, good morning, ladies. Dragonfly Dale, it's so lovely to see you all. And welcome to our show. I love to have my little dose of Kerri from Oz. And we've just been having a bit of a natter off air. It's always good to have you here, Kerri,
Yeah, thank
and
you.
learn more about what's happening with you
I
guys.
keep
Hello,
forgetting that
Leslie.
I keep forgetting that today's not Friday, because I used to do the
Yeah.
interviews on Friday. I'm the one that suggested I please change them, and I'm having a hard time adjusting because I think I'm at the end of my week.
And it's only the beginning. I know, right? I'm like, I actually, for me, it's quite. I always used to do Australia on a Monday morning, actually.
You did,
So
yeah.
it really is, yeah, it really is lovely.
Yeah.
62 days to spring. Go away, dragonfly. That means you're stealing our sun after 60 days. Like, no, stop it.
I think I'd like to be.
Lovely.
I think I'd like to be somewhere where it's snowing right now. So I just, it's so. I mean,
I'm quite
Australia's
happy the way things are. Yeah, I'm quite happy the way things are. So thank you.
Australia is a hot country as it is, but
Hmm.
at the moment it's the humidity, I think, more than anything
Yeah.
that's a challenge. So yeah, my aircon system is getting good workout. So anybody cracking up about climate change and aircons, I'm sorry, but go go for a walk off a short pier. That's all I can say.
Yeah, exactly. No, I get it. Debbie from Arkansas, very nice to
Yeah.
have you. Yeah, wild Aussie woman, there you are again.
It's
Yes,
lovely to
Dragonfly,
see.
don't you come and show your face here again, stealing our sun.
Yeah. Yeah, it's lovely to see
Uh,
some regulars. Thank you, guys. Yeah, it's really good.
yeah,
So,
it's great to have you guys. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Cool. So we're in for disaster, laughter, and miracles today. So that
yeah,
should
we
be
are.
fun.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
All right. So, I'm pretty certain I sent some videos. I had to
Mm-hmm.
break it up because it was taken, trying to work out, 37 years ago. So, you're going to see me as a 24-year-old.
Runs here for you. So I'm not quite sure which is which though. They're not named, but shall I? There's one with a baby with a dummy in its mouth.
Yeah. Hang on. So there should be one there. Have you got a time frame on them at all?
Yeah, there's one that is. Oh no, that's a spooky
the one for 17 seconds. Show that one first.
Yeah. You want that one? Okay, cool.
Yes,
here we go, y'all. Video time.
Oh.
Where is it? Come.
That's done, but because she was adopted, her past is a state secret.
If we were adopted, you're not a person. You have no rights to any information that is rightfully yours, and therefore not only do I suffer, but my children suffer.
Is that you?
Yeah, that's me.
Wow! So, you look like a little. You look like you're 12 years old, or maybe like 15.
I think I was 12. I might have looked 12, but I thought I was 60. I got to tell you now, I just had wise shoulders. So, okay, so I apologize, everybody. I had to break this up, only because there were certain people in this interview that I did in 1980s
that you didn't want us to see. Yeah. Okay. Should I play the other one? Should I play them all in a row?
Yeah, now go to the one that says 105. That's the next one you go to, and then you can play them all in a row if you like.
Yeah. To their parents' medical history. Of course, those moves are blocked by the government-imposed secrecy. And as Lee Anderson reports, that's leading some people to take drastic action to discover their past.
Kerri Roy is just one of 250,000 Australians who know little about their past. Adopted out when she was just a few hours old, Kerri has had to go through life not knowing the woman who gave birth to her. 24 years later, with 2 children of her own, it suddenly became very important she found out. The son Nathan had a stroke soon after birth.
He has brain damage. They don't know whether he will have any problems later on in life or not. He's on medication for 12 months.
Did the doctors ask about your family background?
Yes, I did. I couldn't supply it. Reason being, of course, I'm adopted, and I can't just get that information by making a phone call. They asked me whether I had epilepsy or diabetes through the family. I don't know. That's the problem.
Wow. Okay, then I have one for 36 seconds and one for 1 minute 34. Which one comes after that?
1 minute 34.
Okay.
That we had on file, now that might be incomplete, of course, as you well understand. In Morné, for instance, we wouldn't even know who the natural father was, and we therefore couldn't give any information about him. But where we do have relevant material about either mother or father, then that would be made available.
Ryan Zerk is the head of Children's Services. He says his department is keen to supply any information it has, but sometimes that doesn't go very far. The department supplies adopting parents with this booklet, which sums up their new child's past in just a few lines. For adoptees like Kerri, such a lack of information can haunt them for the rest of their lives.
If you're adopted, you're not a person. You have no rights to any information that is rightfully yours, and therefore not only do I suffer, but my children suffer.
It'd be available if we had it. It's not locked away and kept from people if it's on file. But if it's not there, of course we can't provide it then. And we would not go looking for it unless it was in a case of a very serious disorder that had come to notice, and there may be other people involved. And in instances like that, we have taken the steps of actually getting the authorisation of the Supreme Court to open the file and to go in quest of the people concerned to track down the information that was needed. But that's very rare indeed.
Did you pick up on
Organisations like Beverly's assist adoptees to trace their natural parents. In the search for details about their past, especially medical records, adoptees are ready to bypass bureaucracy.
Every single adoptee will run into that problem of not having medical history. every single one.
But how desperate are they to get him to find out their medical history?
Very desperate. They're ringing up people, they're looking at people in the streets almost and saying, well, you're my mother. They're making phone calls to people that they shouldn't make, but they're desperate to do it.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So this has been going on for quite a while, that at least the adoption side of things has been coming to the fore, right?
Well, that was 1986. Like I started lobbying in 1982, 83, but I was more
Right.
in the background. So I started an association for adoptees with my sister-in-law, who was also adopted, and her friend. And we started lobbying for what we call a contact register, because back then it was illegal to search for your parents. And it was so I just want to say something about Graham Zirk, who was the minister at the time. In that video, if people want to play it back later and say what he says, because the reporter went to him with my story, telling him that my son, my newborn son, had suffered a stroke 12 hours after birth, and he had nearly died. And I was in the hospital, in the intensive care ward unit and everything, and doctors kept asking me for family medical history, and I didn't have it. And in amongst the lobbying, part of my role was to contact media, and they weren't really interested until I mentioned that bit. And next minute, I had this show called State Affair come out and interview me on this subject. And that was the first interview I'd ever done, ever done on TV. I had been interviewed for the newspaper, maybe about once or twice, but nothing on TV or radio. And what I was honing in on was that this is the situations that adoptees find themselves in when our records are locked away. The minister said, you heard him say, oh no, they're not locked away. But then in the next breath, he goes, oh, hang on a minute. It's not locked away if we have it, but then we wouldn't go looking for it unless you apply the Supreme Court to get it. That's the only way you can get it. Meanwhile, so sad, your child could die whilst you're trying to get information from the department about family medical history.
Wow.
So they say, is it locked up? Yes, it was locked up. 2, if they had it, and they didn't have any information because they didn't tell the mothers that they could continue to upkeep their records with medical information. So they never told the mothers or the dads that they could do that. So if you suddenly found yourself with a hereditary disease that you wanted to let the adoptive parents know for that child to know, they never told the mums they could do that. So in my lobbying, I did get some phone calls from mums saying that they had been given, they weren't going to live long. They had a blood disease that was hereditary, or leukemia or something like that was going to obviously affect their child. So there was no letting mums know, and there definitely wasn't letting the adoptee know. So when my son had a stroke 12 hours after birth, you can imagine how I felt, in the essence of I felt completely helpless and devastated that there was absolutely nothing I could tell the doctors. And it was doctors and nurses and specialists that were looking at me going, what's your family medical history? And all I could say was, I don't know, I'm adopted. And
so that guy, I'm assuming the guy that was talking there, he was the minister at the time. Is that what you were saying?
Yes.
And he's saying, well, it's not like they didn't have it and it's locked away. I mean, was he not being honest there, or what's the story?
What are being honest?
I mean, it's like, just come on, how can they just lie like that?
I know. You hear him, if you play it back, if anyone plays it back, you hear him say, oh, it's not locked away, we can give it to you.
Yeah, that's what I...
But it has to be for a serious very serious nature, and we have to go and apply to the Supreme Court to give it to you. That's your own family medical history.
I mean, that stuff should be given to you within a few days.
Yes.
Really, it should be given to you within a few days of applying for it, because going through the Supreme Court takes months anyway, right?
Now, did you see the little booklet? Did you see the little? How big was that? That was like 2 or 3 pages, if that. So there was nothing in there about the mother. There was nothing in there about her medical history. There's nothing. All it would say is the height and weight of the baby, the date of birth, and whether it had blue hair. Whether it had blonde hair. The weather's pickling my brain. And whether it had blonde hair or blue eyes or dark complexion or whatever. That's all that booklet was. There was nothing in that booklet about our parents. It was about us. That was it. And I've got to tell you, I've never seen that booklet. No one gave me that booklet. I don't have it.
That's insane. That's
probably
insane.
Old Aussie woman.
Yeah.
There probably was a way this would be. I must say, my younger brother, because he's part Chinese, like his father's Chinese, his mum Australian. And if you look at the photos, he does have blue hair, and it's apparently a trait within a certain culture, over there, and we even have suspicions he's Mongolian Chinese. So, and he's never been able to get records either of his family. But this is what they do. We were sold off. Nobody thought about the adoptee in this process whatsoever, or our children. And then you hear me say, not only does it affect me, because what if I had an hereditary condition? Not only does it affect me, but it also affects my children. We both suffer in the process.
Exactly.
So this is one of the arguments. So this interview became very pivotal in helping towards what we call, this is very pivotal in basically getting what we called in 1991 the contact register, so that mothers could put their name down, fathers could put their name down in a register at the government, and then the adoptees could, and they would link them. But what that interview doesn't show, because it was showing you people that I preferred not to be shown, what they talked about was the government were considering a contact register, but it had conditions with it. It had that to set it up, not only does the adoptee have to be on it, but the adoptive parents and the biological parents all have to agree to the contact. Now, think about that for a minute. They're still treating us like children. So we had to get permission from our adoptive parents. Here I am married with 2 children of my own, and they're telling me,
permission.
Oh, no, we're not going to let you have contact to your biological mother or father to save your child, because your adoptive parents have to be in agreement with it.
That is so crazy. I mean, Wild Aussie Woman. Hey, Kerri, seriously, how do I get archives of state affairs?
The archives? Like, what do you mean, of the actual video? Is that what she's asking? State affairs, or how do we get?
I would imagine it's about the parents or the kids or whatever it might be. I don't know.
Right, okay. Might be a good idea to send me an email. I'll put my state affairs show. Oh, good question. I've actually got the DVD, like in a DVD, because I had it taped, and I've still got the old tape of it. So I'm not sure. Down in the actual, what channel was it on? Sometimes they'll have archives. The actual channel, the station itself, they'll have their own archive. So chase that up. And then there's an actual media archives down in Canberra. So you could actually maybe chase it up through there at Australian Media Archives. But yeah, I've got it on me, and I've kept it. So I've kept that thing safe for 37 years.
Wow.
So, yeah. Oh, you're talking about when you were a bub. Oh, okay. Depends on the hospital you were born in. A lot of adoptees have tried to access their records through a hospital, but sure, not many are successful, because the common theme, like narrative they come back with, is the records were flooded out or the building burned down. So you don't normally get anything from a hospital. And the best thing is to go to your Department of Children's Services to get any records they hold on you.
Right.
So, yeah. So I hope that helps. If you're looking for the channel, the channel show itself, State Affair, and looking for their archives to get anything, you've got to go through them. So that's as far as I know.
Wow.
But anybody's information, hospitals, you normally have to go through their legal department to get it. They'll often lie to you. Don't take the first answer as no as an answer. You go back and try again, because many times you can get a different worker who will get you what you want. Okay. And the same thing with the department. So never, ever just accept the first lot of information. Go back a few months later and try again. So, because
absolutely.
They won't give you any information on your mother. This is the bit that's really upsetting. What your mother went through pertains to you, but they don't give you your information on your mother. They will only give you information on you from the hospital. If you have contact with your mum, you can get her to apply for her medical records. And often that's quite a shock, because that's when she finds out how drugged up she was. A lot of mothers had no idea that they were given barbiturates, or that they were given stilbestrol to dry up their milk, which is a carcinogenic drug. Now, this is the thing. If they gave mum stilbestrol, and they normally gave it to her prior to giving birth to dry up the milk, it's a drug known to pass the placenta. So it actually ends up affecting the baby. So because it causes cancer like cervical cancer, prostate cancer in boys, breast cancer and other cancers, adoptees are what they call DS babies, and they call the women DS daughters, because we're still stilbestrol daughters, and we can have higher incidence of cancer than non-adopted people if our mother was given the drug. So just try that there. So if you're adopted, the Cancer Council in Australia gives a lot of information about it. So if you're concerned, go and then you can discuss it with your doctor. It was banned in America. Like, they knew how bad it was in America. For America to ban it, this drug, was pretty crazy, but they continued to use it here in Australia. Okay, I think you missed my comment. Okay, all right. You can still apply for your records. Like, it doesn't matter who you are. You can apply for your records from a hospital. So I hope that helps, Wild Aussie Woman. All right, okay, so where I want to go with this, so you got to see my son there. His name is Nathan, who suffered a stroke 12 hours after birth, and it was pretty bad. Like, okay, so when he was born, I'd had a cesarean. They brought him to me, I nursed him, then he went blue 3 times, and basically by the 3rd time they didn't bring him back, put him in a humidity crib. They didn't know what was wrong with him. They tried to tell me it was okay. I said, no, this is not normal. He's not okay. And I was in a small country hospital when I had him. And we were there for quite some time, for a few days, until they could get an opening at the Mater Children's Hospital to transfer my son there by ambulance. He never opened his eyes at all. And there was no interaction with him. They took him into the Mater Children's Hospital, then they admitted me to the Mater Mothers Hospital, But they only left me there one night. They kicked me out the next day, and the hospital is quite some hours from home. And so I had to go home and come back, So I would go into, he was in the intensive care ward, children's ward in the hospital. He had machines hooked up his heart and all over his head. And I had absolutely no idea whether he was going to live or die. I had no support. Like my adopted parents, nobody was there with me. I sat in that hospital all by myself, even though I was married with my baby. I would go in, get in there about 6:30 in the morning. They would take him out of this sort of specialised crib thing, put him on my lap with the wires on him, and I would just sit there all day. I don't even think I got up to move. The only time I got to move is to go to the toilet. And I would just nurse him all day. And anyway, we were in there for about 7 days, and they had sent him off for scans and stuff. And I remember the doctors and nurses, specialists came in, and they were all sort of checking him out. And that's when the doctors did their high medical speak, which I found hard to comprehend. And the nurse turned around and said in layman's terms, your son's had a stroke. He's going on phenobarbital, and we'll send him home with you. Like that's it, right? So they bundled him up, they sent him home. I was home for about a month, and that's when I had to take him in for a scan, like a CT or MRI scan of the brain, which they don't do straight away. And I remember, again, I was all by myself in this children's ward. There was a number of children in there, and basically they take him off by himself, do this scan, and when he's back, the doctors come back and look at me and tell me that the damage is quite extensive. He has damage to the arteries in the front of the brain, and he has extensive damage to the right side of his brain. And they said, we don't know whether he will walk, talk, or see properly.
Wow.
Go home, take him home. That was it. So I bundle up my kid and go home and have absolutely no idea. Like, you can imagine, I've got no supports. There was no social worker. There was no follow-up at home. There was no help from family. And, I'm young, and this is probably the most devastating thing that's ever happened to me, to happen to my child. So we had to start immediately rounds of physiotherapy, though. So I had to take him in every couple of weeks.
I'm just sorry to interrupt you there. I'm just interested. His dad at this point. Where's his dad at? I mean, was he involved in this? Obviously, he must have also known your experience being adopted, where you came from, and obviously with your son having a stroke 12 hours after he was born. That must have been quite something for him as well. I mean, was he involved? How did he deal with this?
That's an interesting question.
Is that a squeak? If you were Caleb, would you be squeaking me now?
I would. Where's that squeaky toy? Yeah, I got something that squeaks. It makes no
I actually said to him last night, if you were talking about. I actually said to Caleb last night, because we were talking about you and him doing another show in the future. I said, yeah, you and Kerri, I said, you're both going to be squeaking me. I said, Kerri will have a bullhorn.
So you've asked a question. I need a squeaky toy. Look, I don't want to answer for him. He was there. How do I even explain this? Look, he was there. He had limited support. I don't think he knew what to do. He came from a big family and older brothers and sisters who had children. Now, his father said to me when I left to give birth to my son was, don't come home unless it has balls. That was
That's
the type.
that's what he said
His
to you.
father,
Seriously, he needed a smack on the ear.
yes. So his father was, yeah, and of course, whilst I was in the hospital, in the country hospital, my son had a stroke. My brother had his car stolen. So what does my husband do? So this shows you that the limit of his support. So rather than think about his family and that his wife is going to need the car for the sick child, he sells my car, our family car, to my brother. So I'm without a vehicle. I'm sorry, but
No, are you kidding me?
yeah. So he did drive me to the hospital every day. He would, so rather than be there for me and my son, he would go to work with it because he worked with his father. So I was all
They're
alone.
not red flags. Were they not red flags flying up like in, or did you think it was a carnival?
Well, look, this is what I said in the interview, is that I was thrown across the room by my father, remember?
Yeah.
And he witnessed it, and I married him, and this is the result. I said, even if someone proclaims to have loved me, they weren't going to protect me. And they weren't there in the way they should have been when their son nearly died and I needed him because I had nobody else.
I can, you know, it's so weird for me that, because one would think that he's just, I mean, this is his son. He has a newborn son. This is his flesh and blood.
Yep.
And one would think, I mean, I know that changes a lot of men's hearts, you know, the minute they see their little baby, whatever. But I can imagine as well, if he was pretty much disconnected emotionally, he could not deal with the fact that his child was ill, and especially ill like that. And I could imagine, especially seeing him with all sorts of little things coming out of his head and stuff like that.
And he couldn't even support me.
That's what I'm saying. The disconnection, the emotional disconnection, there's like on another level.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that is insane. Wow.
Look, he was a good provider. He went to work. He never complained, and he worked exceptionally hard. But emotionally, just not there, right? And just didn't get it. I don't know if he didn't want to get it, but he just did not get it a lot. And but you know, I don't want to just point the finger at him. I probably had a lot of my own issues, in the sense that I never expressed them. I never said what I needed, because I never did as a child. I never did in my adoptive family. So I probably just put my big girl pants on and just got on with it like I got on with everything else in my life. So it's a two-way street. Yeah. And I may have never verbalized it. Should I have? I don't know. I would have liked my husband to be switched on to me, to go, you know, this disaster has happened. I need to be there and say no to my father, like no to my family. That was putting pressure on him to you know, to work for them. And that was the problem. And I think he was in a bit of a bind in between loyalty to his own family and loyalty to his other family, right? So I just got on with it. And who was I at? So basically it comes back that, and it's through the therapy, and I'm having to see OTs and stuff with him, my child, and he's got what's known as left side hemiplegia. So when the right side of the brain is affected, the left side of the body is affected, or vice versa. So he had a very lazy eye, his all the muscle tone in his right hand, and he would walk, when he eventually walked, from toe to heel, not heel to toe. So he had operations. He had grommets in ears. what really surprised them was he reached all the milestones, the normal milestones, and it didn't seem to affect his sucking and eating and speaking, which would normally. It affected his eye, but that was about it. So anyway, this child got a lot of love, even though there were things going on. Old Mama Bear stepped up in ways that I never knew I was capable of. And I had a daughter who was 3 at the time anyway. So, and she was pretty switched on. But so I want to show, there's a photo there. Have you got that? Can come up. There should be a photo there of him with a dog. Trying to remember which ones I sent you. Okay, that's him there. Yeah, so that's Nathan, and that there. So these two are miracles in my life. And as you can see, this beautiful child, the biggest smile on his face. Yeah, so the dog's name is Casey. Yeah, so I think he's about 10 there, 10, 12 maybe.
Yeah, looks about 11. That's 11, 12, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so very handsome player. Very good. All right.
Yeah,
okay.
Very handsome boy.
So
like
something
Mama, like son. I'm not giving Daddy any present here, any credit for that, for his handsome looks. It all comes from you.
I don't know about that. But so I want to share something. So that's the disaster. This terrible, horrific thing happened. And my life was filled with taking him to doctors and specialists and everything. And he was diagnosed with cerebral palsy, Asperger's, and epilepsy. He ended up having life-threatening seizures. He was on phenobarbital for about 14 months of his life. We weaned him off it. He did good for quite a while till he started school. And then I woke up early one morning and I thought I'd lost him. He was seizing for about 40-odd minutes. Rushed him up to the hospital, and then he ended up on epileptic medication, and he's on it today. He can't come off it. So he struggled when he got to grade 5. The best he could do was write his own name, and they kept putting him up a grade. He gets to grade 5, and that's all he could do. He's a kid that fakes it till he makes it, but he would get bullied at school, but he has a lot of charisma, a lot of personality, but every time he'd have a seizure, it would be like his skills and abilities would wane. They'd get bad, and he'd go to school and the teachers would treat him poorly because when you look at him, he looks perfectly well, perfectly normal, like there's nothing wrong, right? And because he's quite bright, the teachers would pick on him as well, thinking he just wasn't trying hard enough. And so eventually it got to the point where he would come home from school such a mess, and my daughter, she'd have nearly all A's, and he'd be having C's and D's and, very negative comments about him. So eventually I decide that I ring the education department and I'm going to homeschool him, right? That was the discussion, and that was an effort and a half from my part to become the teacher. However, so what would happen was Nathan had a problem where he could read a book and he would see simple words such as and, the, it, constantly. They're words that are constantly in the book 100 times. He'd get to the end of the book and he couldn't remember anything he'd read, right? He couldn't remember simple words. And the therapy center thought I wasn't teaching him. If you asked him what, they showed him colors and he'd look at it and he couldn't find the word for it. He says it's the same as the sky. So if it was blue. So he had a thing called word finding difficulty. And anyway, we were going to church at that time, and my husband and my daughter and myself, we'd all be reading the Bible and, reading King James, which is quite hard to read. And Nathan would want to read. Like he was desperate to read, and we just started homeschooling him. And I remember we had like what we call a little prayer evening in the church, and we had about 30, 40 people in the church, and it was just each person could pray for whatever or whomever they wanted to. And of course it got to me, and I started praying for my son, and I started to pray that the Lord would help my son to read. I remember getting quite emotional about it, just feeling really affected by it. And then anyway, the night ended. The next day, nothing. I didn't know if anything would happen. I'd never had any real overly experiences with God at this point. 2 weeks later, it passed. He's 10, and we would have like evening and morning worship. And he sat beside me, and he brought out his Bible, which was a King James, which he couldn't read. And he sits down beside me and he says, "Mummy, could I please take worship?" And I, of course, I don't want to discourage him. I said, "Sure." He opens up his Bible, and I got to tell you, he read fluently about the birth of Jesus.
Wow.
Yes. And he's reading words like Bethlehem. He's reading, right? So he's sitting beside me on the couch, and I'm listening to him. And I'm just tears streaming down my face in absolute shock. And I'm just like, Nathan. And he goes, I said, "You can read." And like a simple child, he turns up and he looks at me and he goes, "Well, of course I can. You prayed."
Wow. That is absolutely incredible.
Yep. So I'm trying not to cry because it was so beautiful. From that moment on, he would talk to God as if I was talking to you, Chantelle. I would hear him in his room, and I thought he was talking to his teddies, but he's talking to God. And we got him a computer, and I thought he was playing video games. But no, this is what he was doing. He was researching. And he was researching every king, every queen, every czar, every pope, every pharaoh, and he was putting them all in a chronological order. Now, if that wasn't scary enough, the scary part was that he retained everything that he researched. So if you ask him a question today, correct, if you ask a question today, who was the Pope in such and such a year, he can tell you. He can tell you what king was married to what wife, how long he reigned for, and everything. And queens, it just blew me away what happened out of that one prayer. And within 9 months, he read his first novel. And he was reading the Dead Sea Scrolls, Chantelle.
Wow.
So this is what I mean, disaster, catastrophe, to miracle. It was to see how God can move and in situations like that. And it just blew people away. I had teachers we used to go to camps, like church camps, and I watched him talking to a teacher one day. And we got talking, and she was just glowing about how intelligent and bright, and went on and on and on about him. And I looked at her and I said, "You do realize he's got brain damage?" She goes, "What?" I go, "You do realize that a few months ago he couldn't read? The best he could do was write his own name. He was teaching her things about the Bible that she never knew, and it was just off his head." If you asked him, "Oh, Nathan,"
so a little genius, like trapped in that incredible little body.
Incredible.
Wow.
Absolutely incredible. So, that was probably my first real experience of the power of prayer, the power of a mother who loves a child, and also of a child who desires to want to know God. And, because that's all he wanted. He wanted to be able to read the Bible like everybody else. That was it. It wasn't comic books. He just wanted to read the Bible. So anyway, he's done incredibly well. He's now 37. He's going on to 38. And he recently, just before COVID, took up archery. And I had suggested it. We have a thing here called NDIS, so he gets a support worker. Support worker did archery. I said, oh, I'll take him. Thought maybe he'd be good for his left arm. Well, it didn't work out with his left arm because he actually uses his mouth to shoot with. So, and like when the guy sent me a photo, so
talk about him like, screw this, I'm going to use my mouth. I love it.
Oh, exactly, because he always had the attitude, why should I struggle using my left hand when I can do it just as good without? So I do have a short video here of him doing it. Get the right one. So, hang on. I probably should have sent it to you, but you could. Here we go. Hold on. Let's see. So he's shooting down. The funniest thing, you've got to hear it. All right, okay, hold on. I'll play it again because you've got to hear what he says.
Oh,
How was that one? Wow, no. You're normally that good. Oh, I'm very humble.
You're normally that good. He goes, yeah. Now, within weeks of taking up archery and doing this, he got picked up by their Paralympic team to train with them in their Gateway program. And I'm talking weeks.
Wow.
So, yeah, just he's a bundle of miracles. So he shoots with bigger arrows and he's a lot more precise now. That was in the early stages, but to watch him concentrate holding this long bow and shoot like that is just incredible. So you just, and all I did was make the suggestion, hey, mate, maybe just go to archery and do some exercise. Maybe you could try with your left hand. And he does it with his mouth. All I could think of was dental bill. So,
well, he'd probably grow his own teeth back anyway, so we're all good for that.
So I'm helping him at the moment. He's setting up his own YouTube channel, and it's going to be about archery, autism, how archery, Asperger's, anime, and archaeology. We're working on all the A's.
I think we need to bring him on the show and have an interview with him. Don't you think?
Oh, please! What are you going to do to me?
You can put that squeaker where the sun don't shine, sister.
I'll tell you what, he might embarrass me really bad. I think my reputation is going.
I think that's why we have sons. They are meant to embarrass us.
Yes.
So I think we should bring him on the show for an interview. And we would love to know more about his YouTube channel as well. We can give it a nice punt. I think that would be amazing. So I definitely think Nathan needs to be on our YouTube channel. I would love to interview him because I think that is phenomenal. And I'm wondering if you should even be here, Mom. I think I should do an interview on his own because I think you might give it a handbrake for him.
Absolutely.
Too much of a handbrake.
I'm sorry. Where's that squeaky toy? No. Absolutely not. You will never see me again if you did that. Because I know what he says.
Oh no, Ted. No, Kerri, I would hate for that to happen. I'd be heartbroken if you didn't.
I'd love to. He's never done it before, but I think he has the ability to do it, and I think that would be really great for him with his communication. And he Yeah, because he's been learning film.
Okay, well, I'd love to hear from the viewers. What do you? Oh, let's put a vote out there, all you viewers. Give us a yes for Nathan to come, or you can also just everyone, please just tap in yes, 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 because I think what an amazing opportunity for me to speak to him as well. You see, we're getting a yes. Thank you, Chantelle. And I think he would love it as well. I mean, I think it's a great opportunity for him to actually punt his YouTube channel, share his brilliance, because, you know, just when you were speaking, it's so amazing, because I think only when those of us who are born able-bodied, right? I think we have so many, we just take things for granted in so many ways. That, you know, we don't even realize the value. Dragonfly, yes, thank you, exactly. We don't realize the value of and I will never forget, yeah, it is. It is. You're right, Sharon. It's absolutely right. And that's what I was about to say. We don't realize the value of what we have. I'll never forget a number of years ago, I was still young. And I was very lazy at that stage in my life. And I mean, I'd always played provincial sport and stuff like that. So, but I was so sick and tired of teachers at school. And, you know, because I was a rebel at school, but they loved me I was a very good tennis player. So they loved me on the tennis court. And my tennis coach was my hostel master as well. So, of course, he was so torn between liking me and despising me. But how they used to get to me was if they wanted to punish me, they would drop me from my hockey team or my tennis team. And all they did was really just break my spirit. Or they not break my spirit, but I just thought, screw you, F you all. So I just stopped going to practice. And then, of course, at the end of the year comes when we have our big inter-schools match, then they want me and I'm going, no, sorry. And it was compulsory. So, of course, I live by my own rules. So I just decided that.
Yes.
So, but I must say, and then it wasn't long after, a year or two after school. And I remember reading an article about a guy that was, he was a quadriplegic. He was obviously originally able-bodied, but he had some sort of an accident. And he said, what I would give to just have the use of my legs back again. And that for me really struck a chord. And I decided, wow, I am strong, able-bodied, fit, healthy. I am going to really, really, really enjoy my body. And I want to tell you, from then, I mean, it's like the stuff I do, whether it's swimming in the ocean, whether it's going for long, beautiful hikes or going into the forest. I mean, I used to do a lot of pole fitness, aerial fitness. So on the pole, as well as the hoop hanging off the ceiling, you know, for a long time I did that. And in fact, I was offered the opportunity to be trained by a teacher in Cape Town for Grand Masters, which is basically over 50s to be trained internationally, because she definitely saw my potential. But at that stage, I was rather went traveling. So I decided to go traveling instead. I bought a wheel and I wheel, you know what I'm saying? And I do yoga. And I really do enjoy having my body. And I think when I hear stuff like this and I see kids or youth that are so damn lazy and they're not making use of their potential. And it's what Sharon Speedy's saying. It is possible to create new brain pathways with new cognitive learning. Absolutely. And, you know, for him, obviously, he decided there was no ways that he was not going to get ahead in life and not something in him. And that prayer, obviously, he heard your prayer. God made him heard the prayer. Hear the prayer. My delicious English, God made him heard the prayer. Very lovely English. You know, but he heard it and he responded. And he's obviously enjoying his life to such an extent that I think he can be such a fantastic example of how to not let life get you down. I love the story. I absolutely love the story. So I would love for him, you know, and especially if he's starting his own YouTube channel, I'd love to have him on the show.
he's working with somebody tomorrow to start help setting it up. And I've suggested a few things with him to make it really creative and have fun with it. I want him to have a lot of fun doing it, and to get him speaking, because he, you know, if someone's talking to him on a subject, he's really good. He'll open up, right? He'll really start talking. But for him to just look at a camera and try and create stuff, that'll be very hard for him. I don't know. Now, there are some Aussies in here that remember, hey, it's Saturday with Dickie Knee. Remember Dickie Knee? Like, somebody puts a hand up. So it was where they had this stick with a hat on it with hair, and you never got to see the face. You just got to see the back of its head, and it would create discussion with the presenter. Very funny stuff. So I'm going to get the worker to do something very similar. We might even call him Arthur Asperger's, because Nathan had a friend. We thought he was an imaginary friend. His name was Arthur. And we want Arthur to ask, that's it, hey, it's Saturday, to ask Nathan questions. So that will create. So Nathan will focus on that. And I reckon it'll really draw him out until he gets used to speaking to a camera by himself. But yes, people wasn't, so we're kind of going to work on that, because Nathan's a very funny guy, but you've just got to get him in the right frame, in the right subject, and he's absolutely hilarious. And he reminds me of my dad. So my two boys were very, very funny. Jacob, when he was alive, he was my youngest son. There were 14 years difference between them, and they would feed off each other, and I was always the target. So that's what I need. I worry if he got with you, Chantelle. I know what happened to me.
He's the same age as my son as well, so we could have fun. We could have a lot of fun.
So here's the funny thing, right? When Jacob was born, Jacob was about 18 months, or maybe a little bit older. I know he was under 3. And I walked out to the kitchen. I could hear Jacob getting very upset with Nathan, going, I just want one. And I could hear Nathan go, you have to have 2. And I could hear Jacob go, I just want one. They were in the kitchen. They were having Weet-Bix for breakfast, right? And all of a sudden, I've clicked, and I've walked back, and I said to Nathan, he'll only eat one. Like, he's only little. He's not going to be able to eat 2. Just give him 1. So I watched Nathan. He already had about 5 in his plate, right? So I watched Nathan give Jacob 1, and then he put another 1 in his own plate, and he's looking in the box of Weet-Bix, and you could see the cog going in his brain, right? And I watched it, and I looked, and I went, Nathan, are you counting the Weet-Bix? Because he's Aspergic, right? So he has patterns, and he has stuff that he has to have it a certain way, right? So as soon as I said, Nathan, are you counting the Weet-Bix? He looks up at me and doesn't answer yes, but I can see the look on his face. It's a yes, right? And I could see he was starting to get a little stressed because I pinpointed something. And anyway, to reduce the stress, this is why I get picked on, Chantelle, I use humour. So I said, Nathan, how do you get on with the Nutrigrain then? So, meaning, are you counting the Nutrigrain? So he just lost it, laughing. So he has his patterns. He has patterns, and he has certain ways of doing things. And when he hangs his clothes up on the line, they're done very specifically. I've got in trouble for not putting the cups away properly. I couldn't understand. He was getting interviewed by somebody assessing him to be work ready. And the guy said, so what else does your mother do that annoys you? What do you mean? You're picking on me. He goes, she doesn't put the cups back properly. And I'm like, what do you mean? So you know how you have cups and, you know, you have a set, but a couple get broken. But I would always put the same sets together, whether there was one missing or not. Anyway, I used to have this area where I'd hang them up. And it was his job as well to put things away, to wipe up, put things away. But I had done it that morning and they were all hanging up. He went to school, and after a while I went into the kitchen to make a cuppa, and I decided to look at what he had done. And I actually could see where he maneuvered all the cups, and they were in a specific color pattern. They weren't in their groupings, but
color coded. Yeah.
So that's what he means, that mum doesn't put them back properly. So
yeah, that's
Kerri.
amazing. Kerri, I'm not sure, Kerri Brown, if you were asking about Wheatbox, Weet-Bix, I don't know if you know what Weet-Bix is, if that's what you were asking. The question
yeah, it's like
cereal, breakfast cereal.
Yeah,
it's like,
and it's
wheat biscuits. Yeah,
they're like a biscuit. They're about so big, about that big, and they're just all made of wheat. And you put milk in with them, sometimes sugar and strawberries or whatnot. So they're like a little brick. Yeah. So
they're actually quite nice. I must say, I used to eat them as a kid. Well, I don't think we had them when I was a kid, but my son definitely used to like them as well when they were kids. And he always took three.
Yeah. So
wow.
I have to, because of his autism, there are challenges, but I've dealt with it with a sense of humor with him, and that works really, really well. So in that photo was a little dog, and her name was Casey, a little brown dog. There should be a photo there of her of a pup I sent through. Yep, that's Casey. Yes, that's it there. So I got
that's a
her.
little, what's that?
Little Chihuahua. Little Chihuahua.
I was going to say, that's a little Chihuahua.
Yeah. Casey, we called her. So, anyways, so there's a story to her that I'd like to share because it's in amongst the miracles. So, my husband and I had split up, and this was when Nathan was about 7, I think, and I was working, and we had to move out of where we were, and I had this one little dog, and I felt that I was really neglecting her, and I decided to place her with another family. And I placed her in a family that I thought mirrored ours. The children were the same age, the mother was home, and I thought I was doing the right thing by the dog. Like, I just felt really devastated, but because of my marriage breakup and I couldn't take the dog with me, I thought this was the right thing to do. Anyway, some months later, my husband and I end up getting back together, and we moved to a property, and it's quite a large property. And we were there for about a year when Nathan actually asked for a dog. So we got him a little fox terrier. And I suddenly started to really grieve, and I mean really grieve for Casey. And I really, really regretted giving her away to somebody else. And this went on for months. And then one day on a Saturday afternoon, I came home, and my husband had the newspaper, and I didn't normally read it. And I was really drawn to look in the newspaper in the lost and found. I was told, look at like a voice in my head, go open the paper and look in the lost and found. I opened the paper. This is in newspapers. This is long before computers. And I opened it up, and here's an ad there, found, tan female Chihuahua, right? Female Chihuahua found, and where the dog was found was near the area where this family lived. So I thought, no, this couldn't be my dog. So I ring the number, and I start talking to the lady, and I start saying, no, these are the markings. Does she look like this? And she said, yes. She said, what's the dog's name? And I said, Casey. And the woman said the dog's name. She, wait a minute. She called Casey, and she said, oh, my goodness, that dog's responded. Her head's popped up. She's become all alert. And I'm just screaming down the phone, that's my dog. That's my dog. So I jump in the car. I'm breaking all the speed limits. And I get to this dog. Now, this dog had been gone for about 18 months. And I asked the story, how did she find this dog? And she said, well, she'd seen it walking up and down on the side of the road for about a week, and she decided to pick it up, take it home. She took it to the vets. She advertised it everywhere. Nobody responded. So that day, that Saturday, she put it in the paper, and that's where I saw it. So I couldn't believe it. I picked this dog up, got her home, and she didn't cope real well with the pup, with the little, my son's dog, because she was used to being the only dog and the older dog, and we had a little pup, so they were having a bit of issue getting on well. But I was in the house one day, and then the pup comes to the door as if it's trying to get my attention, like really, really, like, and I went to pick it up and it ran away from me, and I thought, well, hang on a minute, you want me to follow you? So I followed it, and it took me around to where Casey was. She was having a seizure, having a full-on seizure. So I bundled her up, raced her up to the vets, and turns out she had heartworm. And he's telling me, look, you got two choices. You could try and fix her, costs a lot of money, or you could put her to sleep. And I went, no way. What I've gone through this dog, I don't care what money is spent. We're going to do what we can to save this dog's life. You have no idea how this dog came back into my life after I thought she was gone for good. And so we saved her life. And of course, the two miracles and that photo of them, because that would have been some years after. There's a photo there of Nathan and Casey lying there together. So my two little miracles. So Casey lived that's me and Nathan at the anniversary event. Very proud of his mum. No. So that was the day that I had my song released, and I've lost 9 kilos since then because I beat type 2 diabetes in 4 months without medication. So if I look a lot thinner, that's the reason why. Yeah. So, So he absolutely adored Casey, and she adored him, and she lived to about 15 years of age. And it's a very special little dog.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It truly is amazing.
We reckon she'd walked and walked because she was quite thin, but when the lady found her, she wasn't underweight, but the little pads on her feet were quite worn. And we don't know how long she'd been wandering around for and whatever happened to the people that I'd given her to. But I grieve his dog, and I just wonder when I really started to grieve was when she got into trouble, in the sense of whoever wasn't taking proper care of her. And God knew I wanted her back, and he knew that she was probably pining for me as much as I was pining for her. So when my marriage busted up again, and this time permanently, the dog came with me.
Exactly, as she should. Yeah, that's amazing. That's truly amazing.
So,
wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So
wow.
It's very, very, lovely little story. I know, like my life's had lots of terrible things happen to it, but there's also some very lovely, beautiful things that have happened. And
it definitely seems this way.
Yeah.
Because it truly is divine intervention, as Dragonfly is saying, and found her way back to you as she should have, and definitely had some really amazing experiences amongst all the crappy ones as well. There's always a light that finds its way. Wow.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
Incredible. Lovely, Kerri. So good to have you back again, and we look forward to having you again in 2 weeks' time. So speak to your little man, not that he's so little, your grown son, and find out when he's going to be on the channel. Yeah, we're waiting for it.
We might have to wait a little bit just for him to get used to being on camera and stuff. But yeah, it'd be nice to have him on. But you're not doing it without me.
Woo, mama. Woo. Mama.
I don't know if I trust you, Chantelle.
You know you can trust me. I'll have lots of fun with you.
Oh,
Lots of
goodness
fun with you.
Oh.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kerri, and thank you so much to our lovely viewers and our chat family for joining us today. Yes, Wild Aussie Woman, I definitely was a pole dancer, not a stripper pole dancer. I was a pole.
That's what she told
aerial fitness. It's called. My man at the time liked it though, but it's called aerial fitness. So pole as well as aerial hoop. So I was doing a lot of that at one stage, and of course yoga as well. So it's lots of fun, and thoroughly enjoyed it. And I still have my one pole in the garage. I still threaten to put it up, most definitely, but it's just not the right play. And I used to teach it. I taught pole one, so pole to beginners. So it was so fun, amazing. I love watching teaching beginner yoga, beginner pole. It's so fun because you get people out of their shells, and it's just amazing. I mean, I had a rule in my pole class. I mean, the girls that used to come were often very conservative, and I'd go, no, ladies, no tracksuit pants. You can't wear tracksuit pants when you're on the pole. The reason why you wear so little clothes is because your body's obviously got to stick to the pole, right? You got to be strong. Well, you build strength as well. You know, people do pole to build strength because you certainly do build strength. That's for sure. And they had to wear crop tops and little shorts. That's what they wear, their booty shorts. And I said, I don't care what you think you look like. I don't care. In this class, crop tops and booty shorts. And they loved it. They absolutely loved it. Anyway, that's a topic for another day as well.
I agree, Kerri Brown. I'd end up the floor on my
You
back.
think you will? You start off doing spins, ladies. I'll start you off slowly. You start off doing spins around the pole. You start spinning, that's all. Then you start climbing.
I'll have to tell you the story one day of how I got picked up by Cadbury Schweppes to do an ad for them on TV as a dancer.
Well, I nearly got picked up. I was in Cape Town and I was approached by people doing ads, and then she says, the woman comes to me and she says to me, you're ageless, and you know, like, and I'm going, yeah. She says, you'd be needing cargos to wear cargos. Oh, I can rock a nice pair of cargos. For a hunting magazine, I kid you not. They wanted me to advertise for a hunting magazine with all these new female bows and arrows and guns and things. And I'm like, lady, I don't think you know who you're talking to. At best, you just back the F off.
Yeah.
Oh, can you believe me standing there hunting, posing like as if I'm killing animals? There can be nothing worse in my life. Anyway, guys and girls, I need to also get my A out of here because I've got stuff to do right now. Other stuff, that is. Okay, everybody, thank you so much. And it would be lovely to see you up with Bryce again later on today. We're doing that Sons of Sam, which is we going into the Sons of Sam, which is that cult in, I think it was the 80s, right? Where they killed all these people that were linked to Scientology and all of that stuff. So that's coming up now. So very interesting stuff. I've been watching all of that stuff this weekend. I'm like, oh, I really don't like watching that stuff, but man, oh man, is it interesting. With that, not Marilyn Manson, what's his name again? The other one, not Marilyn Manson, before him, Charles. Is it Charles Manson?
Charles Manson, yes, Charles Manson.
Yes, that guy. He was involved, and all of these other guys, and they're all linked to the Church of Scientology. L. Ron Hubbard and friends, which is so interesting. Anyway, everybody, love to you all. I wish you all the best, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic week. Kerri, we look forward to seeing you back in 2 weeks' time again. So lots of love, health, wealth, and all the abundance you could possibly imagine. Kerri, bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.